Okay, let's talk about food addiction. Um, I'm going to share my experience and resources and just kind of my journey. I am smack in the middle of my steps, so it's a 12-step program. I am on step 6. And I just thought it would be interesting to share with you through the process rather than at the very end and not let you see the really hard stuff. So I just got done with step 4, which, well, how it works is you do step 4 and then step 5 is kind of part of that, and then you're on to step 6. You'll get it as I explain it throughout the week. But step 4 was doing a personal inventory, like a moral personal inventory of basically your whole life. And it is so hard and yet so freeing. And it just made me think so much about this program and addiction and the freedom that comes with being able to go through this program and how grateful I am to be able to go through this program. And when we hear about addiction, we just think about porn addiction, sexual addiction, drug addiction, alcoholics, and it's just not talked about because it's super shameful and super embarrassing, and nobody wants to say that they're totally unable to control themselves. And yet that's where I found myself about 2 years ago. I had it. I was done. I've never been morbidly obese. I've always been. I really like the healthy lifestyle. I was a personal trainer. I've always been active. So I've just never been really, really large physically. And so I guess that was confusing to me because everyone that I had heard of that was technically a food addict was had 100 pounds to lose. I don't know why my phone is being weird. And that just wasn't me. I didn't have 100 pounds to lose. And so I thought, well, no, it's just got to be motivation and lack of self-control, and it just need to be more disciplined. So I would do the 30, whole 30, and I would do meal prepping and buy the meal plans and sign up for the challenges and work out. And I couldn't stick to anything. I mean, it would be like 3 days into a 30-day challenge and I was out. Those cookies would be screaming at me, and then they'd win. Every time they'd win. Every time. It didn't have to be cookies. It could be toast or the rest of the peanut butter and jelly that was sitting on my kid's plate or the rest of the mac and cheese. And I had just had lunch, so I didn't eat it, but there I was eating it anyway. And food just consumed my brain. And it seemed I have friends that can just have a candy bar and then eat nothing else the rest of the day. And that is not me. That is not me. I mean, a candy bar could just be here and I wouldn't eat it, and it would just be screaming at me all day, eat me, it's fine. You need it. And I was so sick of it consuming everything in my brain. To give you an example, if I was to be at a restaurant with you and there were chips sitting in front of us, I would be constantly thinking don't eat the chips, don't eat the chips, don't eat the chips. That would be what was rolling through my brain the whole time that you're trying to tell me something meaningful. Or I would be watching how many chips you're eating to see how many chips I could eat without looking ridiculous. Or I would just be freely eating chips the whole time thinking, what are you doing? Why are you eating all the chips? Or, yeah, eat the chips. It's going to be great. You'll feel like crap later and you'll wish you hadn't, but yeah, go for it. And I would just be consuming all the chips. So no matter what I was doing, eating them, not eating them, it was all in my brain, just taking up space. And I used to write journal entries thinking I was insane, thinking that food was playing this role, that it was keeping me from clarity, and that when I would consume large amounts of food or wrong kinds of food, that it wasn't just this physical situation, it was moral. I felt I was doing something wrong, and I would feel so guilty. I mean, it was worse than I don't know, lying or something. I don't know. Something that feels morally wrong. It was that. It felt wrong. And I didn't understand that. I would write it in journals and I would just think, I'm crazy thinking that, Satan is using food to keep me from my full potential. And yet, that is exactly what was happening. And I'm so grateful because 2 years ago, I was on Facebook and my dear friend Shalise had posted that she had been free. She wrote the words clarity and freedom from food and had this peace about her. And yeah, she had lost some weight and she had kept it off, but that was not the thing. It was the word clarity and freedom from food that she wrote. And that is something I had never heard before. And immediately it was like just a pile of rocks that just fall on me or a sword just through my heart. I knew right in that moment, this is me. This is you. This is a program you have to have in your life. And I cried. I just sat there on this couch right here and cried and cried. I did not want that to be me. It was almost like someone telling you have like some medical disorder that you're going to have to deal with the rest of your life. And I knew right then, like this is that. And you know what the stupidest thought that went through my head was? How would I ever give up my mom's oatmeal cookies forever? Like, that's not a thing. I can't. Like, my mom's oatmeal cookies are like love to my heart. Like, I will need those in my life and I will need to give them to my children. And there's that was my thing. Oatmeal cookies. Can't do without them. And yet, I could not deny this whole poll. And that night I went to a meeting, like a food addiction meeting. They actually have physical meetings you can go to, like AA. Who knew? I did not know this was a thing that existed. And I went through that and that just kind of started my journey. And so there's so many things I want to talk about in one sitting, but I'm going to cut myself off right there. And I just want to tell you that if food is consuming your brain, if anything is consuming your brain that you don't want there, like it's taking up free space without paying rent, what I'm going to talk about this week, pay attention, because I feel like this is just the secret thing that no one I know is in this program. No one I know is using this or talking about it. And why not? Like, this has changed everything in my brain. It has saved my relationships. It has brightened my life. It has given me freedom from resentment and anger, and it has just been an incredible experience, and I'm not even done. So I just don't know why people aren't talking about this, and I know that like Alcoholics Anonymous is just that, anonymous, but I say we just like bag that and start talking about it. Why does it, I get like I'm not going to call anyone else out on it, but why does it have to be anonymous? We don't have to roll shame into this. It's not useful for us to be shamed about this. It's not helping anyone else. Shame is a tool of Satan where he's basically like, you should feel really bad about this because if you talk to people about this, then guess what's going to happen? They're going to like get hope and they're going to find light. And then people will actually have joy and people will stop being sad and depressed. And so that shame is keeping not just you in the dark, but everyone around you. And so I'm just going to jump out there and not be anonymous and talk about addiction. And for the first time, even today is probably the first day that I feel like actually grateful for this disorder and this disease that I have, because it allowed me to find this program. It allowed me to work through these steps that have brought me so much understanding and peace, and more people should know about it. So I hope that this next week will bring you some peace and hope and joy and so much less shame if that's what you're carrying around with you. And with that, we'll see you soon.